Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive.
Ruben.
Going through all the X-books is their mission, so get ready for the Learn edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow.
How dare you!
Except your mind. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow. Except your mind.
Welcome, all you weirdos, pastfluencers, that's pacifist influencers, and everyone buying the pay-per-view to Maggot's Sanctuary Kumite. It is time to receive your 148th Weird Dose of X, the mutant member of your Weird Science podcast family. I am your adult-onset podcasting host, Jason, broadcasting from the Wrong Turn studio perched high atop stately Weird Science Tower. And with me, as always, is a man who, I hope, remember that yesterday was Mother's Day. It's my pal Ruben. Hey, Ruben, how the heck are you today?
I did, in fact, remember that yesterday was Mother's Day.
Oh, good. Up to a certain age of kid, it's your job. Also,
Yes.
of course, your one's own mom.
Yes. Yeah, and we actually did all of that. So I had gifts from my kids to my wife, and we went up to visit her parents and wish her mom a happy Mother's Day, and then we came back to Seattle and swung by my mom's place and did the exact same thing. So it was like all the mothers.
The full tour, full points. Excellent. Yep. So today we have a number of books to talk about. We have the big books are X-Men number 16 and maybe not quite as big, Storm number 8. And then we're going to talk about quick hits on two more books, Psylocke number 7 and Laura Kinney Wolverine number 6.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to Laura Kinney's mom, right?
and Logan's mom too. I guess we'll talk about that next week when Wolverine comes out. Whatever's up with her. A lot of sad mom stuff in the Marvel universe, but I guess that's comics for you. Before we get into all of that, we have 3 news items I want to discuss up front. Item number 1, Marvel's free comic book day offerings that we talked about a couple weeks ago. They're now available digitally on the Marvel Unlimited app or also for free on Amazon Kindle Comixology stuff.
All right, I'll check that out.
Yep, so folks out there, if you want to check out that preview of the Kamala Khan Giant Size event or that little silliness created by Captain America upcoming writer Chip Zdarsky, you can do that digitally. Item number 2, it's been a big year for Jeff Loeb getting hired to do sequels to his classic stories. Because, Ruben, are you reading that Hush 2 event there at the Distinguished Competition?
Yeah, absolutely.
You enjoying it?
I am, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the first Hush. It's not, the highest quality of Batman story, but it's definitely above average.
Cool. I read the first issue of the sequel, and I'll probably read the rest once it comes out to the app. It didn't grab me enough to want me to pick it up month to month, but it's pretty good.
It's just a big action thing featuring a vignette of characters, right? And then, I don't know.
Well, if you're enjoying that, and maybe you'll enjoy this upcoming new Marvel announcement, it's a Jeff Loeb written event series called X-Men of Apocalypse. Not a particularly catchy name. It's like they took a couple words, kind of crammed together. So this is kind of... Jeff Loeb was one of the writers on the original 1995 Age of Apocalypse event.
Oh, God, I knew it was going to be an Age of Apocalypse thing.
There's like 4 things in X-Men history they can't get away from doing over and over and over again. Right?
I still haven't finished reading
the Dark
that.
Phoenix, Age of Apocalypse, House of M. Yeah, those are the big ones.
I guess I need to get back to it. That series is, that event is super long. I read, a little bit of it, and I was just like, oh, God, so much.
It was a really cool idea because they played it straight. This is back before you could look up the next 6 months of solicits online, right? So you could actually do surprises. And they really played it like, no, this is what the X universe is from now on. It's all changed. It's all really different. So that must have been really fun to experience in real time. I was not reading comics.
And that's why it's a struggle now reading it, having never read it, is knowing that it's just like a blip. I'm like, okay, come on, let's get through this.
So the first alpha issue of this new sequel series comes out in September, but we're told that a backup story in that Kamala Khan giant-sized project will act as a prelude. So there'll be like hints of what's coming up. And of course, it'll be, as you might guess, in the backup to giant-size Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, Sugar Man comes from that universe, so...
Oh, well, that is what Age of Apocalypse is most known for, of course. Everyone loves the Sugar Man.
Yeah.
So I guess all of the giant-sized books are going to come with what's called a Revelations backup. And I don't know if that's Revelation as in, we're just revealing something.
No, it's Doug Apocalypse for sure.
It is. You figure it's got to be Doug Apocalypse.
You can't make the name Revelation and then not, when you do a Revelations issue, have it be about him.
Well, I hope so. If they miss that, we're going to have to yell at Tom Brevoort. He gets yelled at enough on the comments or something.
Yes.
Okay, that is that. And the third item, which is clearly the biggest news of the week, something I know all listeners have been patiently waiting an update on. But, Ruben, I have managed to get the butter smell entirely out of my sheets. Took a lot of doing. First, I soaked all the sheets in a solution of hot water and OxyClean.
Yes.
And washed them again. Still kind of smell like butter. And then, what do you think I did, Ruben? What I probably should have done in the first place. What should I have done?
Is it baking soda?
I should have done what my buddy Ruben suggested. Baking soda and hot water, soaked them for a while, washed them again, put a little vinegar in the rinse cycle, and boy, now it's like it never happened. So my bed sheets no longer smell like movie theater popcorn. That's a good thing.
I had some movie theater popcorn this weekend. I went and saw the Thunderbolts movie.
Oh, how was it? I haven't gone out there yet.
It's definitely worth it. It got me excited for the MCU again.
It's not Thunderbolts anymore, right? We're supposed to call it New Avengers?
Oh, so you know that spoiler? You know that spoiler?
I mean, I know it was a couple weeks after the movie came out, Marvel did a big marketing push where they had the actor who plays Bucky, they showed him walking around changing the posters, taping up the new title on the where the old title was. So yeah, that part's out.
Well, it's still the Thunderbolts until it's not, but it's mostly still the Thunderbolts. And
I think an upcoming comic, they're changing that they had solicited it as being called Thunderbolts, but now they're going to call it New Avengers as well. So this is leaking into the printed page. Yeah,
maybe kind of unnecessary, but what I'll say about it quickly without doing spoilers, because in theory people still haven't seen it. One thing I liked about the old MCU, maybe Phase 1 or Phase 2, was it felt like it was building towards something, and we're kind of getting back to it building towards something.
Okay.
And
nice,
it kind of teases some upcoming movies, and it kind of picks up a little bit from the Captain America 4, but you don't need to watch that to appreciate it.
Okay, good, because I have not.
Yeah, so it really felt like a part of something, which is what I kind of missed from the last few.
Sounds good, yeah. And one nice thing about comics is when you finish a comic, hopefully you feel like you've read a story, but also it's nice when there's a hook into, but the next thing's coming up too. So that balance of we're finished, but we're not finished is tough to do right, but yeah, I think the early MCU movies did it pretty well.
Yeah, this is very self-contained in one sense. There's a villain and a character arc, and it concludes. And then there's sort of a almost post-credits type element where you get a tease of kind of what's coming. So, anyways, definitely worth checking out.
I look forward to that. Cool. Well, that is all that I have for news, and now we will move on to our Infinity comic of the week, which is Astonishing X-Men number 21, I Have Seen Tomorrow, Part 3. And usually this comes out kind of right at midnight on Sunday night, Monday morning, and I was kind of up late last night, so I was annoyed that it didn't come out what I consider to be on time, but it was up when I got up this morning, so I got to read it.
What time did you check it out? Because I read it around 10:30 my time. I guess it'd be 1:30 your time.
It must have been just about 1 a.m. when I went to bed, so it wasn't up by then.
They were just waiting for you to sleep before they pushed it.
Must have been it. So, it is written by Tim Seeley, art by Eduardo Ordino, colors by KJ Diaz, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So, Ruben, kind of a lot happens here for one chapter of an Infinity comic, the middle chapter even.
I also, this makes me hate Gen Alpha so much. And, we're sort of in a podcasting space, but I was like, oh my God, is this... I mean, we're not doing it professionally, obviously, right? And I know these kind of influencers exist, but I was like, these people are so annoying. So damn annoying.
You wouldn't want to go to a podcast influencer convention and represent the Weird Science brand and have a booth and try to sell merch and stuff?
No.
Not so much, yeah. Well, yeah, so we have a chat on the floor of a convention. we get a visit to a crime scene, we get to heart at the slot machines, and then we get to change the location, setting up the next beat. So that's kind of a lot to do in a pretty short comic. So yeah, we start off with a chat between our core team, who is, remember, Banshee, Husk, and Skin, and their old pal Mondo, who they ran into at the end of the previous chapter. Now, Ruben, is it just me, or does Skin look like 20 years younger now than he did when he was a construction worker? I don't know, was it the uniform? Was it just being construction worker really bummed him out and he looked kind of old and sad and tired? But I had to keep reminding myself who he was, because he looks like a teenager now.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, he's part Gen X. He should look like Hope and the others. Like, let's de-age him.
Or I'm thinking of that Homer Simpson clip where he has all his excess skin, like, binder clipped behind him, making him look young and supple. Maybe that's what it is. He has all his skin just pulled tight inside his uniform. So Mondo here, he tells the team about his pacifist podcast, which doesn't seem to be the most popular podcast in the world. Now, my notes here say, pause to plug the Patreon. Oh, yeah, that's patreon.com/Weird Science, everybody. Check it out. So they reference in this conversation a clone of Mondo who had been part of Generation X for a while before the real Mondo replaced him. So it's like they got to know the clone first, I believe, before real Mondo showed up. That's kind of funny. Being part of the podcast world, Mondo here offers to help the team try to solve the murder of mutant influencer Rhonda Forcebeams. But he has 3 rules. Number 1, he doesn't do any of the fighting, right? A pacifist thing. Number 2, don't mention the clone. He must be sick of hearing about it, and or Tim Seeley doesn't want to dive deep into that mess, so just don't talk about it. Number 3, he gets to record the goings-on for his podcast/YouTube channel, which, fair enough. Next scene, Tad Brody, that human influencer they talked to last chapter, he's just plain old dead. At least, we're supposed to think he's dead. I'm not entirely convinced. Husk gets access to the crime scene, and I loved how she did this. She disguises herself as Cece Werblowski again, who is that famous influencer person that she pretended to be in the pub in Ireland. So that was kind of funny. I like that callback, like that little internal continuity.
She must be too big for this actual convention.
Must be, because everyone there is just stunned.
Yeah.
Also, we've probably discussed this before, but I guess when Skin does this, she can replicate like a full body, including change in body size and shape and the appearance of clothing. So I guess really she's running around naked here, but it looks like she's wearing clothes. So hey, if you like dirty comics, you can imagine that. We don't get to see the crime scene for some reason, but she tells us through another character actually, that Tad was ripped in half. Only his legs are left inside the room. Also, that crystal glass that Tad was supposed to use as a Jimmy Olsen signal watch was gone. And there's no sign of anyone forcing into the room, so it's kind of a locked room mystery. Banshee goes and has a chat with Gateway, a one-sided chat because Gateway doesn't say anything. Gateway kind of does speak in Storm this week. We'll get to that later. I have questions there. So Gateway is playing the slots. Do you imagine Gateway as being a slot machine kind of guy, Ruben?
I do not, but
I didn't think so. I guess they're in Vegas. He teleported them there. They want to put this scene somewhere interesting looking. I guess that's why I said. But yeah, maybe it's my bias. I'm not a gambling guy at all.
Yeah.
If I lost $2 playing the lottery, I would just kick myself for a month for wasting that money. It's just not my thing. But I'm just surprised that
Gateway doesn't lose. That's why.
You think he cheats? Is that why he's gambling?
Yes. Well, it says jackpot, right? Ding, 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 jackpot. He's just so wise that he knows which slot machines are going to pay out.
He just teleports the tumblers into the right position. So in talking to Gateway, Banshee decides that the murderer also, no other possibility, must have been a teleporter. That's a hell of a conclusion to jump to, don't you think, Ruben?
I know.
All we know is that the door was broken
universe.
down.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they said, and also the hallway cameras didn't show anybody or something else, but I mean, couldn't somebody just have, stolen the room key, copied the room key? But maybe in this universe, teleporters are just that common.
Like, how good is the security going to be at this podcaster convention? Like, maybe he has a locked door, right? Like, I don't imagine there's security cameras and all that. So I would be...
Boy, I don't know. Vegas hotels. I imagine Vegas casino hotels is having cameras everywhere.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe the Vegas hotels would have cameras. But yeah, you get it. I mean, in a superhero world, you could say like, oh, they must be a phaser, right? Like Kitty Pryde. Or maybe they did the flash vibration through a wall. I mean, there's a million ways that somebody could get in there and kill the guy.
Yeah, we can tell that Seeley just wants to get the idea across that it was a teleporter and doesn't want to waste a lot of time getting there. And I guess it was a teleporter because Banshee convinces Gateway to take a break from the one-armed bandits and to track down. I guess Gateway has the ability to sense the existence of where portals recently were. Is that a thing? I'm not familiar with Gateway having that power, but I guess it makes sense.
You're not the Gateway expert?
I'm not a Gateway expert, alas. But Gateway, I guess, must have figured out that it went to this one particular place because we jumped to having our team at a nuclear test site town called Boomtown, Nevada. Kind of spooky, looks like an Old West set with mannequins posed everywhere. Banshee makes a sound that matches the resonant frequency of that signal glass, and he hears it respond from directly below them, somewhere underground. So that's where we wrap up. And yeah, I thought this was a pretty darn good chapter. Did you have a good time with it too?
I thought it was okay. Like I said, I got really annoyed about the social influencers and their superficial kind of conversations.
Well, I mean, we're supposed to dislike the influencers, right? The way it's written,
I get it, but I definitely did. Success. Good job, Tim Seeley. You made them successfully annoying.
Yeah, and I think it's done with a much lighter touch than like X Factor has been, right? It's not bashing over the head.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It's just there. Yeah.
It's just made me annoyed with the world that we live in.
Fair enough. So let's move on now to our first real book of the week, which is X-Men number 16, Legacy number 316, titled X-Men. Yes, the title of the story in this issue of X-Men is just X-Men, and we'll see why. It makes sense. It's written by Jed McKay, pencils by Netho Diaz, inks by Sean Parsons, J.P. Mayer, and Livesey, colors by Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So, Ruben, I gotta admit, apparently I lied to our listeners a second time in a row. Because last week in the previews, when I'm listing, here's the books coming up, I said, surely, by the end of this current issue of X-Men, we would know the fate of Quentin Quire, right? He was blown out of the sky by wire 2 full issues ago, but once again, Kid Omega does not even appear in this issue. I don't even know if he's mentioned. He just doesn't really come up.
We get an X over his face in the credits page.
That's true. That's all we get. He did not have an X over his face last issue. I went and checked.
Yeah.
So if we're to take that as meaning something, maybe he died off panel between issues.
Waiting to be rescued.
Checking his watch. Oh, I'm sure they'll be here any minute now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. So apparently R.I.P. Quentin Quire. Maybe. Who knows? So let's remember what has kept our team so busy they could not go rescue their fallen friend. What's going on is there's a giant fleshy kaiju on its way to attack the city of Merle, Alaska. This is the brand new body of this person I'm calling Twinsy, Piper Cobb's mutant-absorbed twin, who's being manipulated by Cassandra Nova. And then at the end of issue 15, a new team shows up, also calling themselves, the title of this chapter, the X-Men. So, a little confusing. In this issue, we do confirm for sure that this group of X-Men has been sent by 3K, and are also the same 6 folks who made up the Santa Marco 6, those adult onset mutants who fought the X-Men in issue number 1. In this issue, we get names, or at least code names, for all of these 6. The apparent leader is Schwarzschild. He's the one whose arm was cut off by magic in issue number 1, now as a cybernetic replacement, a la Luke Skywalker. He has the power to control gravity, and he kind of reminds me of Heavy from the Power Fantasy. The Dr. Voodoo-looking guy is Constellation. He controls cosmic energy. We don't know exactly what that means, but he shoots a purple beam at somebody. So
means whatever it needs to mean.
Exactly. The one in the yellow coveralls and dome helmet is Psychovore. He can phase through the ground and eat thoughts. Gas Mask Lady in red and black with all the pouches on her belt. She is Time Bomb. Her deal is that she's fast. Gotta have a speedster in the group, Ruben. It's kind of the law.
Yeah.
Big muscly gray lady is Galatea. She's strong and made of stone. Her name comes from Greek mythology. Have you ever heard of that one about the sculptor Pygmalion, who makes a statue so beautiful he falls in love with it, that Aphrodite brings the statue to life? that statue's name was Galatea. So a little culture there for us.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And finally, the bald orange guy is Juice. He's kind of a living Capri Sun, is what I picture here. His catchphrase is, "The juice is loose." Not great. He can do things like sling bits of himself around to suffocate opponents. He does that to Juggernaut for a bit in this issue. Juggernaut has a tough time in this issue. It's like Worf on Star Trek, right? Anytime you want to show that the new guy is really strong, you show, he can beat up Worf.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on here.
It's a little strange because didn't we see Juggernaut under the ocean in the Astonishing X-Men series for quite a long period of time with no real consequences? But now in this issue, he is like
remember, yeah. Maybe he got to take a real deep breath because he knew he was doing that? Maybe that's how I would try to no-prize it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, that's a hell of a good point.
I'd say this team is close to being tolerable as far as like a new set of villains. But
okay, put that on the back of the trade paperback, yeah?
Yeah, we're still in the McKay-verse of like, a bunch of forgettable new characters. But some of the names I'll remember, like Juice, I'll remember that. I could probably even get, Constellation and Time Bomb, I think I'd start to remember. Sworsion Child, I'm never going to remember that.
Okay, I remember that one.
In like 10 minutes, I'm going to be like, who are you talking about?
It's an astronomy thing.
Is it?
Now, for a black hole, the Schwarzschild radius of a black hole is that limit where even light can't escape. Like, go too close and light can't get out. That was calculated by a scientist named Schwarzschild radius. This guy is a black hole, so as an astronomy nerd, I'm going to remember that one.
Okay, that's not so bad then. I'm just not educated enough to understand where this comes from. What about Psychovore?
Well, vor means to eat, and psycho is thoughts, so he can eat thoughts. Just kind of does what it says on the tin. Time Bomb, she's just fast. I don't really get that one. Juice, again, looks like a Capri Sun, so go with that. Now,
who do you think is better, these guys or the, was it the Blood
Coven?
Well,
yeah, we were saying before we started recording, that's the book they should publish next, like a one-shot of these new X-Men versus the Blood Coven.
Yes. Yeah.
Jed MacKay kind of going back to that trope that he has of creating these new teams of bad guys who are kind of instantly forgettable. It's funny, Garb Jones in their Slack says he wants all of these characters to get their own solo ongoings. Which, compared to some of the ongoings we have now, might not be so bad.
Yeah.
So if you had a green light, an ongoing, or let's say a 5-issue miniseries, start slow, 5-issue mini. If it catches on, we'll publish more. A 5-issue miniseries for one of these new villain X-Men. Which one would you pick?
Oh man, which one do I care most about? Well, I think Sworsion Child has the most interesting power. Am I even saying that right? And
I was Schwarzschild.
Schwarzschild. Okay, I'll try that. I think his power is the most interesting. The character design is like, and I laughed. You showed me that other screenshot of somebody saying like, are we in the 90s? Is this like a forgettable 90s Image comic, team that'll be canceled after 3 issues?
Yeah,
definitely looks like it. But I like gravity manipulating powers.
Okay, I think I might go with Juice. Yeah, the catchphrase has got to go, right? He cannot be saying the juice is loose all over the place. But, he's kind of like the Thing, but he's liquid. I could handle a 5-issue mini on Juice.
I mean, he's just Hydro Man.
Okay, that's not the worst thing ever. You could get sponsorship.
Yes.
That'd work. So yeah, Juggernaut generally has a bad time of it here. Besides getting suffocated by the juice, he also is the victim of Schwarzschild and Galatea doing their own version of, they call it a slingshot maneuver, which is another nerdy reference to how satellites or probes get to go out to far away in our solar system by using gravitational boosts by going near other. It's a nerd thing. Don't worry about it. It's really a fastball special, but by remote control, because Schwarzschild reverses gravity on Galatea, which zooms her up into the air, then switches to a strengthened version of regular gravity, smashing her back down, this time onto Juggernaut. Which makes me wonder, I don't know why Schwarzschild doesn't just toss all of his opponents into space.
Yeah.
Well, if he can just snap his fingers and they fly up into the air, yeah. I think that's what he should do. But maybe there's a limitation here we don't know about yet.
I mean, he might have to concentrate on it. He does it to Magic. He shoots her up into space, but she gets back through her portal system.
Right. It's very convenient that the toughest guy in the X-Men is the one who gets smashed by the super heavy rock, and the one who can teleport is the one who gets thrown up almost into space. If you flip those two around, they're both dead. But yeah, most of this issue is a fight between the real X-Men and the 3K imitators, and it's here to be a showcase for the powers of the new characters. And as that, it works fine. There's a particularly really nice splash page for when the battle starts. That looks great. But ultimately, yeah, just kind of a long fight scene, and not even a conclusive fight scene. By the end of the issue, the teams are right back where they started, just angrily facing each other, but now everyone's tired and messy.
Yeah. Well, it's a little weird, too. Let's talk about thing that you spotted. It starts out with Scott Summers leading the team, but Scott Summers, like when we last saw him, was in a ship that exploded.
Yeah, I was concerned from last issue, because the last time we saw him in issue 15, he was trying to convince Twinsy to not be such an evil kaiju, and she swats his plane out of the air, it blows up in fiery explosion. We don't even see like a parachute come out like we're on the old G.I. Joe cartoon or something. So it looked like he was dead. Obviously, Scott's not just going to die like that, but we didn't see him for the rest of the issue. So I was wondering, how are they going to explain what happened to him? Because at the end of that issue, all the other X-Men are lined up facing these new X-Men. Scott wasn't there, but on the beginning of this issue, Scott's just right there. So no explanation. He's just kind of, well, he's back now. I just give me one panel, one word balloon, one narration box explaining what happened, because it feels like a mistake.
Something. Yeah, he needs something. Felt like something got edited out. Maybe just called an Uber. He was in the middle
of nowhere, Alaska?
Yes.
Is it like a sled dog kind of situation? See, it's probably well, it wouldn't be the same wolves who ran with Logan, because R.I.P. those wolves. So Cyclops is back somehow, and he says, after they all fought, now we can talk. We have to fight first. That's the rules. He says, "Who speaks for you? What do you want?" Schwarzschild responds, "We want to be X-Men, the vanguard of the genetic revolution. We're proving that we're the next evolutionary step, that you and yours don't deserve the name with your half measures and hypocrisy." So, kind of very old school Magneto here, isn't it? I do wonder what the motivations of all these new X-Men are, because I guess they had been members of that fourth school who were like parts of Orcus left over, who thought that the new thing after AI was going to be a merger of humans and AI and mutants. So I'm curious how they're convinced that now they have this motivation. I kind of want to know where they came from. Also, I'm confused. I'm confused by what 3K is up to.
Yeah.
You don't think we're going to get it?
No, I don't. But it would be nice to explain how they went from fourth school to this.
Because 3K was working with fourth school, so maybe they were volunteers from fourth school for this. But 3K has also been activating X genes in adults all over the place. Like, that's how we get Jennifer Starkey and Ben Liu, back at on this team, really. So I don't know what 3K's plan is either. And I'm sure we will get 3K's plan at some point. That's being mysterious on purpose. But I'm curious what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm looking at one of the pages with Psylocke, and we finally see the sword and the psychic energy over it, and then she dissipates it, and there's like a sword underneath it.
Ah, okay.
It's bizarre, because I swear we saw seeds where we just saw a hilt, right? Where it was just a lightsaber.
Yeah, they're not super consistent. Psylocke's sword is always going to be just whatever it needs to be for that scene, unfortunately. So, while this fight was happening, the rest of the world was not standing still. We get some glimpses of other things going on besides the fight. That Kaiju Twinsy is still heading for Merle, and I like the conversation here between her, Cassandra Nova, still really playing on this kid's emotions, right? This was a kid who's never really been born, lived inside her own twin, never have her own body, and Cassandra says, "Oh, just kind of, we want you to be part of this cool new team. You just got to go, beat up the city first." And that's going to work on this kid. So that's a nice way of writing that. I think that makes sense. And also, the X-Men back at the factory are not just sitting around idle. Last issue, Magneto told Beast to prepare his prosthetic, so we knew something was up. This issue, we learn that the prosthetic is part mechanical and part medical. First, Beast gives Magneto an injection of what we're told is dextroamphetamine X, a drug that'll temporarily give Magneto back control of his powers, might have other short and long-term side effects they don't know about yet. So dextroamphetamine X is obviously a fictional drug, but plain old dextroamphetamine, without the X, well, that's a stimulant used to treat ADHD, among other things. So kind of a weird choice to take that real-world drug, just slap an X on the end and make it a thing. I guess like mutant growth hormone is just human growth hormone with an X on it, basically. But yeah, so like Adderall is a mixture of 4 drugs, one of those being this dextroamphetamine. So that's the medical end. The mechanical bit is, well, it's the giant dead frozen sentinel that's been left hanging over Merle, which when I saw this, I said, yeah, I should have seen that coming. Maybe other people saw it coming. I don't think we mentioned this possibility, but yeah, if you got Magneto, you've got a big old metal robot, you're going to put them together.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that works for me. I was hoping for a cooler suit than just the repurposed Sentinel, but it makes more sense this way.
And also, we've seen this before. Anytime you have one giant bad guy, you have to have a same-size giant good guy to fight it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you can't have one kaiju versus a bunch of normal-sized people.
Comic rules for sure, yeah.
Comic rules, and also just, I think, to draw it looks better when your opponents are going to be the same scale. Most recently, we saw this in like the X-Manhunt finale. We saw that happen there, where it was like that Storm kaiju robot versus that monster from the depths. So getting kind of a little tired of this trope, but Magneto piloting a Sentinel, that's just cool. You can't say Magneto piloting a Sentinel is not cool. And the final cliffhanger splash page of this issue is those two giants facing off, about to fight, right as the Twinsy Kaiju reaches the outskirts of Merle. So, Ruben, what overall did you think of this issue?
Overall, it was adequate, but it felt a little light in content. Like, I was like, what did I really learn about this? I guess I sort of learned the powers of these new X-Men and kind of like what they do, but it just felt like we're at the same place we were at the end of last issue for the most part. They're kind of facing off against each other, and the kaiju, I guess, is like a few feet closer to Merle, and I mean, Magneto's in the suit now, but he was going to get the suit at the end of last issue also.
Right.
So, it just felt like we didn't really make a lot of progress.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It is mostly just a fight scene. It's a pretty good fight scene, and we do learn some stuff. We learn who these new characters are, at least, the surface level outlines of who they are. We get a little bit more of Magneto. We get a little bit more of Cassandra Nova. And I think the art is top notch, right? It's Netho Diaz. He's drawing a lot like Ryan Stegman. I think this is another one of those issues that if you didn't know it wasn't Ryan Stegman, it fits right in with what he's been doing. So that's pretty cool. Love those 2 double splash pages. The one right before the fight and one right before when the kaiju are going to fight. Those will make great posters. So yeah, it's very much a middle issue. The plot threads all advance, but only a little bit. Quentin gets forgotten about. I think somebody should have mentioned him at least a little more. Like Temper. Temper always is talking about, oh, Quentin. She could have said something.
If I believed these new X-Men were going to be around for more than one story arc, I'd feel like a lot better about this. But I just don't feel like this team is going to be around for very long. It's sort of kind of like, what's the point of all this?
Yeah, like a new temporary coworker comes in. Are you going to spend a whole lot of time getting to know them? They're going back to the other side of the country next week. So
yeah,
that kind of does feel like that. So yeah, score-wise, if this was just standard art, I'd probably be in like the mid-6s. But the art is good enough that I'm going to raise it to. I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, I'm not quite that high. I'm more like 6.2. But
okay,
it's definitely my favorite book that we read this week, unfortunately. And
foreshadowing, yeah.
I'm excited for the next issue, but it sort of feels like we could have almost skipped this issue. And yeah.
Yes, if I ever go back and read this in trade or like read through this arc on the app again, I'm going to go through this issue in like a minute and a half. Right? It's not going to, unless I start to linger and zoom in on the details of the art, it's because something's going to buy really quickly. Okay, that is it for X-Men number 16. Now let's talk about Storm number 8, which is Legacy number 19. Sinister Schemes of the Stars and Stripes Part 1. Now, don't get your hopes up, Ruben. It says sinister in the title.
I know.
But it's not that sinister.
I tried to stretch it, and I was like, how do we make this about Mr. Sinister somehow?
I was hoping when I saw that. It is written by Marewa Ayodele, art by Lucas Wernick and Mario Santoro, And it seems pretty clear to me in this case who did which pages. The colors are by Alex Guimaraes, letters by Travis Lanham. And Ruben, I'm starting to feel my early enthusiasm for this series kind of diminishing.
Yeah, this felt like a little mess.
Never been crazy about a super OP version of Storm. It doesn't feel like we're going to get to that battle against Oblivion anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the last issue, I thought, oh, we're going to get a fight between Storm and Thor, but that was a misdirect. He's just here to chat. It's just, again, kind of a mess. We start off with a bunch of choppy, confusing short scenes, and then it transitions into a longer scene that at least has, the quality of being an intelligible story. So let's get the choppy, short stuff out of the way first. We start off with Storm using her huge cosmic powers to put an end to that unnatural weather causing trouble in Brazil. And we then cut to a page of the other Avengers, because she's an Avenger, and they're all just looking like powerless dopes in comparison with her. I did not like this page at all. I don't think it even looks good. I don't think this is Lucas Wernick's art here. It just kind of looks dopey.
Yeah, and then some weird bro talk between T'Challa and Tony.
Yeah, and then they have this kind of joke about, those two guys are divorced, but Reed Richards over here, happily married, never divorced, with the dumbest look on his face, and there's just a big arrow pointing at him.
Do you think T'Challa would be like, I have a great evening planned with Emma Frost?
No, I don't think.
How old would you be to make that joke? It's like, I'm going out with your ex-wife.
I'm going to bang your ex-wife. No, I'm going to bang your ex-wife.
Yeah.
You can maybe say Tony would make a joke like that.
Even in the response, even in the response to he wasn't really insulting. He was just kind of like, "Hey, are you going to go talk to Storm?" And then he was like, "No, I'm too busy. Going to go out with your ex-wife." Yeah. I'm like, what?
It's just a your mom joke, is what it is.
Yeah,
basically.
It is. Yeah, it was weird. I was like, I don't.
Yeah, not great. So, and that's like the very first 2 pages of the book. So already I'm in a bad mood. Now we cut back to
you too, because I was just like, fuck this. Was not into it.
I'm trying to find the good in it, and there are some good things to it, but it put me off right away. We cut back to Storm and Thor, now in the Amazon again. Storm gives the mixed cremated remains of that pilot and the snake who ate him back to Thor. Says, have Dr. Voodoo sort out whose ashes are whose. He's a necromancer, he can do it. Okay, that's that problem solved. Thor now tells Storm about I
want to see the scene where Dr. Voodoo gets it and he's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? It's a urn of ashes. Storm
I don't work for you.
Yeah, Storm be like, you're going to fix it, right?
Not great. Also, at the end of last issue, Storm and Thor were about to have a conversation back on the Sanctuary, and now it looks like that conversation picks up here in the rainforest, so I don't know how we got one place to another. It just feels very disjointed. But Thor tells Storm about a new threat. It's an ancient entity he calls Hadad the First. And as always, I Google the name, look for the wiki, and Hadad is not a new character.
Okay. That makes me feel better, because I was just like, really?
According to the wiki, he's appeared in 10 prior issues. 5 issues of Wolverine, 5 issues of a Ghost Rider book called Blaze, all between 1989 and 1995. So he hasn't been seen for, 30 years. That's 1995 should not be 30 years ago, but I guess it is. Hadad is a storm god / storm demon, originally from ancient Mesopotamia. Thor says that Hadad was like the original storm god before everybody else. And he says of him, eternity was his cloak and death was his shield, and Phoenix Force was his armor, and all these different huge ideas were all kind of working for him. So yeah, the only one who could smack Hadad down was the one above all himself, the true omnipotent god of the Marvel Universe. Now, to invoke the one above all, that feels, again, too big. We don't need to go that big. We shouldn't talk about the one above all, unless there's like a huge crisis event, the whole universe is about to end. Yeah. I don't think we should even be going there.
Yeah. I kind of don't like the idea of also saying that Eternity was like this little bitch either, because we already kind of like have that with Eternity and Oblivion, and now it's like, anybody just beats up on Eternity, who cares, right? I thought Eternity was supposed to be this big, powerful force.
It's just like we were talking about with Juggernaut last issue, and referencing Worf on Star Trek. If you want you want this new character to be super strong, you have to show making some other formerly strong character look like a dope. So that's what we get here. Thor says that there's going to be like a civil war between the various current storm gods, some who will support the return of Hadad, and some who will oppose him. Thor oddly doesn't outright say what side he's on, but we must imagine he's going to be on the anti-Hadad faction. He offers to come help Storm out if any other storm god starts to hassle her, like they did last issue, but Storm turns down any offer of help because she's Storm. She's a strong, independent storm goddess who don't need no man.
This pissed me off, too. I was just like, all you gotta say is thanks, right? Put the stupid feather in your pocket, appreciate the offer, and then you don't need to do more than that, right?
Yeah.
Like, just appreciate the offer, but this whole, like, no, I don't need you, right? I was just like, seriously, Storm?
Yeah, it doesn't.
I
don't like that
you,
character. Unpleasant. I know Iodelli just wants Storm to be the most powerful character ever.
Yeah,
and he's doing it at the expense of other characters, which I don't care for.
I just sat here thinking, like, who's more obnoxious between Jean Grey and Storm? Like, they're doing a good job of like ramping up the Storm characterization to somebody else.
Yeah, and can you imagine if there was like a versus book between them? Can you imagine their internet fans? Oh, there'd be blood everywhere, Ruben. It'd be horrific. And also, in the midst of this Thor scene, they stick like one corner of one page shows the Silver Surfer again. It says the far reaches of the universe, the near future. We've got that sooty Silver Surfer again. And I think the idea is that it's showing Hadad as having eaten Galactus and Surfer trying to get him back. Because it says, rot blizzard, spew Galactus out. And I don't know if this is like the actual future that's going to happen. It is a possible future. Very confusing what this is even doing here.
It makes a lot more sense than what I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, it does not sound like any Silver Surfer that I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's right next to a narration box from Thor that says, Hadad will return, and with him a horde of rot storms. And then right next to it, the Surfer says, rot blizzard. So that's why I make that connection. But yeah, the first couple times I read it, I didn't know what this was doing here. Okay, those were the choppy, confusing scenes. The rest of the issue is more standard narrative, with a main story about Storm and a side story about Maggot. Storm first. Storm's back at her sanctuary. She's doing her yoga poses, and this looks great. I mean, this is Lucas Wernick drawing Storm, looking terrific. And she's super talented at yoga, great balance, fine with that. She's saying in 3 panels and 3 poses, word bubble says, never again. What is she talking about? There's no connection. Is it just reflecting on Krakoa and we won't let that happen again? I don't know. It's an odd thing. It's a very, in the English language, the phrase never again there's a lot of weight to that phrase. We don't even need to bring up the history of it, but you see it repeated and you go, what? That's got to be something big, but it's not talked about. Unless it's referencing she had just opened this letter from the Department of Justice, the FBI, and you might think that a Queen of Mars, not to mention a goddess, the immortal host of eternity itself, you might think that she'd have, I don't know, diplomatic immunity, right?
Diplomatic immunity. Just been revoked.
You just wanted to play that, man.
I did. I spent some time editing that together, so I got to play it. But yeah, again, you think she can. Why is she even submitting to this? But
what's that face? What's that weird face on her bedsheet?
Face on her bedsheet. Oh,
I stared at that for a really long time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I have no idea what that is.
I think is that her bedsheet, or is that part of her hair that's come out? Because she's been having hair falling out.
And she just
and there's something wrapped around it with a face on it.
Yeah, it's just,
I don't know.
Yeah,
very
it's
odd.
weird.
So we get some jokiness in the narration boxes. Omniscient. Say that again. Omniscient narration about how even a goddess is scared of government bureaucracy. But yeah, Storm submits. She shows up at the FBI headquarters. Ruben, how does Storm get to the FBI headquarters?
Oh, Eden, is it Hazard? Manifest?
Manifest. Eden Fezzi?
Okay.
Manifest, we'll call him.
It would say Manifest.
Manifold.
Manifold. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Manifold just shows up. Is like now her personal teleport servant.
Yeah, like all these characters, just like Maggot shows up and he's like her butler, and Manifold shows up and he's like her chauffeur. We haven't seen him since the end of Krakoan era, so I'm happy to see him again, but he does seem to be like a servant here. Not great. Also, she's flown. We've seen her fly that sanctuary back and forth across the entire country, right? From Atlanta to San Francisco and back. I don't know why she's doing this. And also, Eden says to her, he says to her, just give the word and we will have an army standing with you. Say the word and we'll kindle a second Krakoan age. What the hell is that about? Who is we?
I know, when I read that, I was like, you're talking a little big for somebody.
Yeah.
Like, call
what do you mean we, Kimosabi, as the old joke goes? Yeah.
I'm like, where is this army of mutants that you're going to get? I thought there's like a handful in Merrill and some down in Louisiana.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. And also, if he can bring about a second Krakoan age so easily, why aren't they just doing it? Why wait for Storm to say so? Very odd. But Storm goes off to her interview and sends Manifold away, saying to him, make sure Maggot stays out of trouble. So, again, he's working for her in some capacity, and we'll check in on that later, but stick with Storm for now. The FBI has Storm wait in a huge open room, and there's a weird bit here where the narration boxes tell us, oh, this is to make her feel small, but we all know Storm doesn't like small places. She's claustrophobic, so I don't know how that would work. All right, she flies through the air, right? Big rooms shouldn't bother her. I did kind of like this interview guy. Her interviewer from the FBI is Special Agent Fabii. This is that character's first appearance. He's some kind of alien. All the people on his team are kind of aliens. It's almost like a DEO. Like over in DC, they have the Department of Extra Normal Operations with that skeleton guy usually in charge. Feels a lot like that. Yeah, Bones. So Fabii, he wheels around this tank of nitrogen to take a hit off of periodically. At least he says it's nitrogen. Could be nitrous oxide for all we know. Looking on from behind a mirror is Agent Lundqvist of the ONE. We've seen him, going up against Cyclops in X-Men, so that was some cool continuity.
Yeah, I like that continuity.
Only one panel of it, but it's nice to have it, he would be involved in this. Good to see him. Alien Guy starts off by casually mentioning that Storm is up against the possibility of 5 years in supervillain prison. Then he asks about the Storm Sanctuary, specifically its emission controls. She's down at the DMV and she's trying to get her new sticker.
It's like, who's certifying this shit?
But yeah, we do get some information about the origin of the Sanctuary, and I know, Ruben, you are super thrilled and happy with all the information we get.
Yes.
So Storm says to him that it was designed by Tony Stark, Lunella, that's Moon Girl, and Shuri of, Black Panther, to A, emit no greenhouse emissions, and 2, to glow underneath during the daytime just like the sun, so as not to inconvenience anyone it happens to be hovering over. Pretty silly. So Ruben, what do you have to say
why
about
do I not like
these
this?
Revelations?
Because it's ridiculous, that's why. I mean, I'm fine with superheroes and, just doing superhero stuff, but you're telling me all these characters just get together to build Storm, this floating sanctuary, for why? Right? Just
everybody loves Storm. They do anything for Storm.
And if it's this easy to build these things, why aren't they building them for other people, right? It makes her and everyone else that's involved in this just seem like total assholes, right? They could be solving real problems of hunger and poverty and everything else, right? And any of these stories, but they're too busy
making sure her flying saucer doesn't have a shadow.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. And I'm how do you fund that? It's just I don't know. It's like billionaires and their rocket ships, except I can think of benefit to humanity from that. What is the benefit to humanity for this Storm Sanctuary?
And it doesn't even explain the weirdest part of her sanctuary, which is that the engines powering it were these robot kaiju things that look just like the one that caused all the problems in issue 1 when that experimental energy place blew up. So something else is going on.
Yes.
Also, I don't want to get into this part too deeply, but all the people working for Storm, right? We have Maggot, we have Eden, we have Moon Girl, we have Shuri. Mm-hmm. All of them except Tony Stark are all black characters, which is fine, but it's a pattern you start to notice once it gets this many. Which, if that's what we're doing, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
moving on.
From just a continuity perspective, this answer is so stupid, right? All you had to do was say yeah, I got this from Araco. It explains how she got to Earth, right? She flew the damn thing over here, and I wouldn't question that some spacefaring race had a little UFO vehicle.
Yeah, and again, I want to know what's going on with those kaiju engines. That's all I want to know from this book, and he's not telling me. I want to know soon.
Yeah, Tony's got him in a warehouse. Just a bunch of them laying
Maybe
around.
he does. He could be. Next, this alien guy wants to know where Storm has been for the past 6 weeks, specifically if she's been kidnapped or mind-controlled, or possibly had her memories wiped to remove, the memory of something specific. She says she hasn't, and also she's immune to such things, which that is established for whatever electricity-related reasons can't mind-control Storm. The alien tests out this immunity, and of course Storm immediately sees through the illusion he puts up. But I guess this was all kind of a double reverse trick, because if Storm hasn't been kidnapped and can't be mind-controlled, then she must be guilty and culpable for harboring that wanted fugitive, Charles Xavier. That I kind of like. That makes sense,
I did like
right?
that one
Continuity
part.
here is good.
This one part was good. I was like, okay, this is a cool little, gotcha moment.
Yeah, as a lawyer, prosecutor, cop kind of a trick, I like it. And yeah, there should be consequences to people who harbored the most wanted man on Earth running across the country for whatever that 9-part series was. So as the book ends, Storm is placed under arrest for obstruction of justice. Now we need to go back and talk about the Maggot plot. When Eden gets back to the Storm Sanctuary, we see what Maggot is up to. And Maggot is hosting a kumite. He's hosting a fighting tournament, including hundreds, maybe thousands of spectators in this arena. This arena that is, remember, just a tiny part of the Storm Sanctuary. This thing's got to be huge. Spectators seem to be a mix of humans, mutants, aliens, everybody who could be in the Marvel Universe. The competitors are Maggot himself, who's newly upgraded by Eternity, remember, and then also Gentle, She-Hulk, Juggernaut, Big Bertha, Strong Guy, Armor, and the Abomination. What an odd little subplot to shove into this book. It feels like it's completely out of a different title entirely, doesn't it?
Yes. And some of these characters are like sort of known adversaries to the X-Men. Like, why would they just show up? I'm thinking of like Big Bertha and Abomination in particular. Like,
yeah, Abomination.
There's people you call up and say like, "Hey, do you want to participate in my fight?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure. I don't got anything better to do today."
And who else is hanging out here but Gateway? Big week for Gateway. And this is weird. He's having a conversation with Manifold, with Eden. Eden asks him a question or talks to him, and we get a word balloon from Gateway. But it's just like a scribbled doodle inside. What are we supposed to think is happening here? Is he actually speaking?
He's dropping a big F-bomb.
Whatever the Australian Aboriginal language F-bomb is, that's what he's saying.
That's the only thing.
That's what he's saying. I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, he's doing slot machines. He's going to kumites. It's a big comeback for Gateway. We talked before about how that would be, if we're going to talk about who's going to get a spin-off or their own kind of solo miniseries, again, I want to see a Gateway miniseries. I think that could be fun. But yeah, the Maggot plot line, very dumb, complete waste of time, feels like it belongs in a whole different book. Don't know why anyone's working for Storm. Storm's just the best ever. Everyone worships at her feet. I'm tired of that.
How do you get onto the Storm Sanctuary? It seems like you got a pretty good life, right? You just hang out and watch kumites?
Yeah, you got to clean the fish tank sometime, right? Doesn't she have like whales or sharks in a tank somewhere?
Yeah, that's your job.
So there's like hippopotamus. You got to shovel hippopotamus crap. So it's not all kumites, Ruben. You got some actual work too.
And they're just shoveling it over the edge.
Oh, zero emissions. Thud. Hell of a big pigeon. So that part's dumb. The beginning part with all those choppy little things with the foreshadowing of this Hadad War of the Storm Gods we know is coming. I don't care about that.
And why does she have like a Japanese or like Chinese style facility on her UFO?
Yeah, outside this kumite, we see it looks like a pagoda, I think is the word. And even the trees here look like I've seen in Japanese paintings. I don't know what kind of tree it is, but this section of the Storm Sanctuary looks very Japan-inspired.
She has some strange taste.
It also bugs
like
me
Disneyland.
that
She's got like Japan Land where the kumite takes place. There's probably like an Italian place somewhere on this stupid thing.
Also, it bugs me that Maggot's being introduced by the ring announcer, and the ring announcer says, let me quote this, introducing in the black corner, and then you look back at where Maggot's standing, he's standing in the dead middle of the ring. There are 6 corners. It's a hexagon-shaped thing. There are 6 places you could be standing to be the black corner. He's in the damn center. He's not in the corner. But you want to say some cool stuff in the black corner, weighing in at a crap ton of pounds, wearing the coolest, coldest costume on this side of the universe, the unstoppable devourer, the blue-skinned Zulu titan of destruction, Jacked Up the Ripper. That was kind of funny. Jacked Up the Ripper. Maggot. But yeah, that's his introduction. It's just very, very silly. Doesn't feel like it belongs to this. So yeah, the Storm FBI bit, that was okay. The rest of it, really kind of dumb. So overall, I'm going to give Storm number 8, 5.8 out of 10. Did not care for it. How about you, Ruben?
Yeah, I had fun talking about it, but reading it, it was, I even think like these elements could all work. It just felt really put together poorly.
Yeah, so many things that just, like the collections of things in a notebook that just all got kind of dumped and shaken into one comic. Does not hang together.
Yeah, I'll just give it like 5.5, but
5.5.
My interest in the series is down. I am happy to hear that this like new big bad is not just a new big bad from nowhere, which was kind of, I was like, why are we fighting this character that's like stronger than the Storm Gods? Mm-hmm. But this is like a deep cut in lore that I just don't have the ability to follow. Yeah. But I haven't
gone back and read that. I'll send you what issues he's from, where you can look up on Fandom Haddad, Haddad. He's only been in 10 issues before, so I'll probably read at least some of them before next time. Okay, moving on. We're going to do these last 2 books pretty quickly because not a ton to say about them. This one is Psylocke number 7, Loved and Lost. Written by Alyssa Wong, art by Vincenzo Caratu and Moises Hidalgo, colors by Fercifuentes Sujo, letters by Ariana Mayer. Last issue, Magic and Psylocke went down to Louisiana to consult with Deathdream about Psylocke's ghostly visions she's been having, but when Deathdream touched Psylocke's hand, whatever had been haunting her seemed to take over him. As we start this issue, Magic, Psylocke, and Rogue have to face off with his possessed version of Deathdream. The possessing ghost taunts Psylocke, saying she's responsible for the death of 3 people, Matsuo, Himeko, and Mitsuki. Now, Himeko is her daughter. We know that whole story from Hellions. Mitsuki is her friend from, they don't call it the Red Room, but it's like the hand version of the Red Room. And we've seen that story in flashbacks in this series. Matsuo, though, as far as I know, he was killed by Betsy Psylocke, not canon Psylocke. That's from the 2010 volume of Psylocke for that story if you're interested. So that feels like a mistake. Maybe somebody read the wiki but didn't read very far into the wiki. After a while, another baddie joins the fight. This one is that 2-headed Betsy Cannon ghost that only Psylocke has been able to see, but now everybody else can see it too, and frankly, it's kicking everybody's punk ass. Eventually, Rogue borrows Psylocke's powers, and I guess it takes the combination of Rogue's powerful punch and Psylocke's psychic blade to knock that possessing ghost out of Deathdream. Is that why that works? Is that why Psylocke couldn't have just done this herself?
Yeah, where there were like 2 villains and they need to just separate the powers.
I guess.
I felt like the 2-headed thing was like, in theory, screening, but it wasn't done in a way to make it clear that this is like the only way to achieve your goal.
Yeah, we're supposed to see it as, the combination is what does it, but it didn't really explain or get across why that worked. But yeah, this works, so it knocks that ghost out, and then Psylocke stabs the other ghost in the head with a regular sword, because at this moment, I guess she doesn't have her powers, but not before the ghost, I think, reveals that it's really the spirit of Psylocke's dead friend, Mitsuki?
Yes, that's what I gathered.
That's what I gathered, too. So at the end, Psylocke's heading off to Japan to revisit the dark periods of her past, which this is exactly what Akihiro just did in Wolverine like 6 months ago. So once again, there should be an editor or somebody who says, hey, we just did that. Do something else.
Yeah.
But we don't have editors.
I'm going to really groan if like Mephisto's involved.
That'll be funny.
He's like, hey, I got this great idea. If I take over the mutant kind, I can dominate the world. And we'll be like, yeah, we've heard this.
Yeah, it's not going to work again. It never works. It just didn't work. We also do get a couple scenes with those other characters, Devin and John Greycrow. Odd pairing. I don't think they really have chemistry together. It's just, they're kind of there. They both know Psylocke. That's the only thing that puts them together at all. The upshot is that they're both concerned about something going on with Psylocke that she's clearly not telling them. We know it's these ghosts. Devon installs a spy cam into Greycrow's mechanical arm, and when Psylocke visits Greycrow for some pre-Japan smooching, kind of creepy, there's a camera there, that camera picks up on a wound Psylocke got on her arm from that spooky ghost fight, and Devon calls this wound a lead.
Yeah, that's how I did put that in. He's a total voyeur.
Creepy. I mean, and Greycrow's already, really good at mechanical stuff. So it felt strange that they'd have to bring... Devon has to do something, I guess. I don't think Devon's necessary to do this. I think Greycrow could have done it himself. But yeah, Psylocke number 7, not very good. The dialogue is really awful. Emotional beats are just telegraphed and clumsy. Art I don't care for. The faces just look goofy, and no two faces really look alike, right? Panel to panel, they're not consistent. So not a lot to draw me to this book. Was hoping that this arc would go somewhere more than the last one. Not looking great. I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 10. How about you, Ruben?
Yeah, I just give it a 4. I want to be lower.
Plain old 4.
It sucked. It was not good. And it's a character I like. I think it's a cool character, but it's not doing anything that justifies the cover price.
Yeah, again, this is Psylocke being explored in her post-Betsy phase, which we saw some of that in Krakoa. As always we say, love that story she had in Hellions. Like to see some more things out of her. This feels just like spinning, going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Also, still very funny that her boyfriend is a violent bank robber. Yes. And the X-Men are okay with that. Very funny.
Apparently everyone's okay with that, because there's a part where Devon's like, don't you have some heat in here? And then he's like, oh, your day job's a bank robber, right? Like,
you can afford to pay your heating bill, yeah.
Yeah.
Although he is in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, so it's not like there are like electrical cables or gas pipelines. So he's as warm as the wood he chooses to chop. But anyway, moving on to our final book, which we're going to be pretty quick again, but is definitely better than Psylocke. This is Laura Kinney Wolverine number 6, Legacy number 74, My So-Called Perfect Life. Written by Erica Schultz, art by Giada Belviso, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, letters by Corey Pettit. Now, Ruben, we had dropped this title a few issues ago, but it's starting a new arc, so I thought I'd check back in. At the end of issue number 5, which we didn't cover, Laura was just getting home from her trip across the country with Bucky when a #shadowy figure zaps her with a mysterious energy weapon. And that was the cliffhanger. This issue starts off with an entirely different status quo. Laura is living in a suburban house with her sister Gabby and their dad Logan. They have no special superpowers. She gets told by Dad Logan that all that mutant Krakoa X-23 business had been all in her head, a delusion. This is the real world. Now, not the most creative thing ever. Ruben, we've all seen this scenario before, right? Hero gets gaslit into thinking all these superhero adventures had been hallucinations. Do you have any particular stories you can think of that you liked that have done this trope before?
None that come to mind, but I agree with you. It's certainly a trope that we've dealt with before.
The one I thought of was Life in the Mad Dog World, a Spider-Man story that came right after Kraven the Hunter. That was a good story. In the Slack, when I brought this up, Yea mentioned the Buffy episode Normal Again. So it is a pretty standard thing to do, but it does feel better, deeper to me than kind of the mindless B-tier action of the first 5 issues of this series. It is kind of fun to see Logan, Laura, and Gabby together in a family situation. Erica Schultz does throw in some references to the X-World, like the doctors who examine Laura are Doctors Xavier and Dr. Frost. Food Delivery Girl is Kamala Khan, that sort of thing. Did you get some entertainment, at least, out of those little bits?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this story, to me, becomes more interesting when you start to see the cracks, like where she starts to see things that shouldn't be part of the normal. And there wasn't really any of that in this specific issue, but I'm curious what's going on. Like, somebody's behind all this, right, clearly. And
I hope it's not Arcade. We don't need Arcade. We don't need another. Didn't we just do that moment? I hope it's somebody different.
Yeah.
Could be Mysterio for all I care.
Yeah, you're worrying me that it's going to be Arcade.
But yeah, this book has taken a different turn, and we think it's at least I think it's kind of fun. So listeners, if you had been interested in a Laura Kinney book, the first couple issues turned you off, maybe wait for issue number 6 to hit the app, check it out. It's kind of fun. And I'm going to give this issue a 6 out of 10, which is approximately double what I'd been giving the first couple issues.
Yeah, same here. I thought it was 6. It could go somewhere interesting, right? I just hope it's not like an of the mind story. I need something else besides that, but we'll see.
Yeah, somebody definitely, you had that, somebody wearing a hood over his head zapped her with a sci-fi gun at the end of the last issue. So somebody is doing this on purpose. If it turns out to be an interesting person, interesting motive, that'll definitely add depth. Okay, those were all the issues we wanted to talk about this week. And Ruben, I sent you a little preview of what's coming up next week. Did you read through that list? Busy week next week. We have Uncanny X-Men number 14. Probably some more historical stuff, more outliers. Looking forward to that one. We have X Factor number 10. Oh, I don't have my guillotine sound effect. I have to imagine the chopping sound. It's the final issue of that. And there is one big question we have to settle. Remember what that big question is for X Factor number 10? Will or will they not Power Dog? Yes. Corn Dog mention? We'll have to wait and see. Phoenix number 11 next week. Start of a new arc. Jean's dead sister is alive, maybe. We also have Wolverine number 9. Also the start of a new arc. Logan's dead mom is alive, maybe. Kind of funny those are happening in the same week, but we'll talk about those. And finally, Helverine number 6, which this too is a start of a new arc. Helverine versus Hell Hulk. And we're really hoping for that to be back to the goofy, over-the-top fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
Percy.
to that one. Hopefully that's some fun Ben Percy, and less of just the taking yourself too seriously Ben Percy.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Ben Percy says that he has a new Marvel announcement coming up, and a lot of people are saying that it's going to be him writing The Punisher, which, if that's true, that it seems like a good pairing for him. I'd read his Punisher. So those are our regular titles, but also Godzilla vs. X-Men comes out next week. And I don't know if you caught Jim talking about this on the regular Marvel show, but he basically said...
No, we don't need that. Jason and Ruben could go through that.
Yeah, words to that effect. So I'm going to at least read it. We should probably at least mention a little bit next week. That's a whole lot of books. So whether we kick some to the following week, whether we do like a lightning round rapid fire bit, we'll definitely talk about some of these. And also next week, Ultimate X-Men number 15 comes out, which I expect I'll be talking about with Jim on that aforementioned regular Marvel show. Wow, that is a whole lot. So I think we should probably rest up until those issues come out in about, 5 hours or so. Anything you want to add before we wrap this up? Anything you want our beloved listeners to do to keep themselves ready for our next hit show?
Yeah, I got to read some more X-Men comics.
Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive.
Diplomatic immunity.
X-Books is their mission.
Just
so
been
get ready
revoked.
for the learned edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow.
How dare you!
Accept your mind. It's the Weird